Good afternoon. My name is Izzy Klein, and as co-chair of the Jewish Democratic Council of America's Political Committee and a founding board member, I want to welcome you to our conversation with Democratic candidate for New Jersey Governor and current Congresswoman Mikie Sherrill. This race is particularly close to my heart. As many of you know, I'm a New Jersey native from West Orange. My mom and my sisters and cousins are still in northern New Jersey, West Orange, Chatham, Wayne. JDCA endorsed Mikie in her first race for Congress, and in each one subsequently. My mom and I knocked doors for her. She was a rising star in our party when we took back the House in 2018, and now she's a pivotal leader as we try to run this play back in 2025 and 2026. After 9 months of chaos, corruption, and cruelty under Donald Trump's administration, it is clearer than ever that our Jewish and democratic values are under threat. The stakes of the upcoming elections in New Jersey and in Virginia could not be higher. What are we up against? A Trump administration that enjoys revenge and reviles the law. Trump has held up critical funding for the Gateway Tunnel, which Mikie and the New York and New Jersey congressional delegations championed and secured. Trump illegally released Mikie's unredacted military record to help his hand-picked Republican candidate for governor. But we aren't deterred, and neither is Mikie. To the contrary, she's focused on making life more affordable for families in New Jersey, strengthening our infrastructure, and supporting veterans. Before Congress, she earned admission to the Naval Academy, served 10 years as a naval helicopter pilot, and was a federal prosecutor. Now she's looking to bring her steadfast commitment to defending our values, standing up to extremism, and fighting for a more just and secure future as New Jersey's next governor. JDCA is doing everything we can to help her. To the tens of thousands of you who have joined JDCA events, helped with our electoral work before, thank you. We are proud to serve as your political home and voice, and we encourage everyone to get involved in this pivotal race and more by visiting jewishdem's.org. I'm pleased to turn over the program to JDCA CEO Halie Soifer. Halie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Izzy, and thanks to Congresswoman Sherrill for joining us today. We'll just get right into it. So, Congresswoman, you are in your 4th term in the House representing the people of New Jersey's 11th District. What is driving your decision to run for governor? And in this final stretch of the campaign with 19 days to go, when so many New Jerseyans are hearing different narratives about this election, what is the one message that you want the people of New Jersey to consider about you as you head to the polls?
Well, thanks, Halie, and thanks so much, Izzy. Thanks for the door knocking. Thank your mom, please. It is wonderful to be here today, and I do just want to start off because this is something here in New Jersey that is near and dear to our hearts, and just saying how happy I am that all the hostages have been, the live hostages have been released. Here in northern New Jersey, Don Alexander spent over 500 days in captivity, but he's home in Tenafly, and we're so relieved about that, and we're relieved other families can get their loved ones back. And I'll tell you that I'm running largely for all the reasons I hear about from New Jerseyans, what we need to see in the future. I go around the state, I speak to thousands of people, and what I hear again and again is this sense that New Jersey is becoming almost impossible to stay in for people's parents, for their children, to build opportunity here. And that's really important to me. A lot of it's based just on cost of housing, which has gone up 50%, electricity, which has gone up 20% this summer, healthcare costs. And here in New Jersey, because of the opportunity we've traditionally provided, because of the innovative economy, because we've been a state that loves innovation, so we love all of the various different groups that live here. We're one of the most diverse states in the nation. We see all of that at risk, and that's what I'm fighting for. So all of our kids have a great opportunity, and I've fought for that most of my life as a lifetime public servant, as a Navy helicopter pilot, a federal prosecutor, a member of Congress, and certainly as a mother of 4 kids. And specifically for our Jewish community, a lot of that opportunity is built upon the idea of acceptance. And we have seen a really terrible rise in anti-Semitism here. So again, bringing everyone in our community, and not just our Jewish community, but our interfaith community and beyond, to really double down that religious hatred is always unacceptable, and that we are going to make sure that here in New Jersey, we can chart a path forward that protects all of our constitutional rights, including religious freedom and free speech, and we can do both. And we can be a really strong state that models that for the rest of the nation. And that's something that I'm looking forward to doing as governor.
Well, thank you. And picking up on that issue of anti-Semitism, in the past 2 years, since the horrific attacks of October 7th, America has seen an unprecedented rise in anti-Semitic incidents and attacks, including in New Jersey, which I believe in 2023 had the highest or third highest number of anti-Semitic incidents. In Congress, you have been a vocal partner and advocate for Jewish Americans and defender of Jews as anti-Semitism has risen. As governor, what steps would you take to ensure that Jewish Americans are safe and supported in schools, synagogues, Jewish institutions, and public spaces?
Sadly, we've seen in New Jersey a rise in anti-Semitism even before October 7th, with the Molotov cocktail thrown at a synagogue in my congressional district. I've long been fighting against anti-Semitism, even from the very beginning of my first campaign. Right before I got in was Charlottesville, and that was where Trump had said that there were good people on both sides. And the far right side included white Christian nationalists, skinheads. And he suggested that they, had some good ideas as well, which I can't tell you how strongly I disagree with. And I'm appalled that that has continued. And just recently we saw the horrible texts that are going on in young Republican circles. I don't think that should have been a surprise to anyone, because we've seen it starting at the top with President Trump and the anti-Semitism that he promotes. And I will continue to fight against that. I know parents whose children have been victims online of anti-Semitic hate. Things like other students putting black electrical tape on their lips, like a Hitler mustache, and bullying Jewish students and saying horrible, hateful things to them. Like I mentioned, the attacks on the synagogue, and then in the aftermath of October 7th, continued and broader attacks. And I've always stood up to including with groups like recently the NJA, which has endorsed me, had a woman who was working for them who had a lot of horrible anti-Semitic things online. And I called that out and demanded that they address that and that she be fired. So even, I'm going to call out anybody in this space that is promoting hate in any way against all of our citizens, but especially our children. So that is why I'm going to have a state plan of action based on the U.S. national strategy to combat anti-Semitism. As a former federal prosecutor, I'm going to demand a comprehensive reporting of the hate crimes so that we can better understand the hate that's going on here, to better address it. A strong attorney general to aggressively combat and prosecute anti-Semitism. A stronger interfaith advisory council. As I've spoken to the Jewish Federation, we can't just talk to each other. We're all in violent agreement. We have to broaden out that empathy and understanding of why this matters to everyone and why we have to do better for all of our kids. And then I'm also going to hold our universities accountable here as we continue to fight the anti-Semitism going on in our state.
Great. As briefly discussed, but we'll discuss further. As you know, on October 7th, nearly 2,000 people were murdered by Hamas and 250 were taken hostage, including many Americans. And as you noted, one such American, Edan Alexander, was released earlier this year, and we were so happy to see him returned to his family in Tenafly. What is your view of the agreement that was reached a few days ago between Israel and Hamas that ensured the release of all of the remaining hostages? And we saw 20 of whom reunited with their families on Monday. That's the first question. And the second is just generally, as we hope the war in Gaza is now reaching its end, What is your approach to the U.S.-Israel relationship?
So after 2 years of unimaginable pain for families, I just can't express how relieved I am to see that the 20 living hostages were returned to their homes. It's, you know, in a time of darkness, our country is going through a lot of crises. To see something like this was really powerful, and I think I think meant so much to communities across New Jersey. I hope that the bodies of those who are killed can continue to be found and returned home so they can have a proper burial. And then I will also say, as we see these images of families receiving their loved ones home, I'm hoping, it gives me hope that we can have a chance at real peace. And so I think for that to happen, we're going to have to see this as not a partisan issue. This is just an issue that I think would be great for the entire region and the security of Israel. And so that is why I've always been a proponent of this. And I think we have to hope that this agreement holds, that Hamas is demilitarized, that humanitarian aid just surged into Gaza, because the famine there is preventable, and we've got to address that, and then achieve a lasting peace in the region. And, you know, it felt like with the Abraham Accords, we were on a path towards this. And I think continuing to rebuild Gaza and build a new government there with allies in the region will continue to support, I think, a greater peace in the region and a real alignment of those people who value ensuring that the entire region is economically strong, which Israel can lead on, as well as security and safety for people across the region.
So transitioning to domestic policy issues, as Jewish Americans, we understand and value deeply the importance of democracy, one that respects everybody's First Amendment rights. In fact, the defense of democracy was the #1 issue for Jewish voters in the past 2 elections. But since January 20th, we've watched as the Trump White House has taken unprecedented steps to curb our democratic freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and is currently working with governors throughout the country to even impact our upcoming election with off-cycle redistricting. As governor, how will you work to defend our democracy and our freedoms from the efforts to subvert such freedoms being led by President Trump?
It's interesting. I think so many communities community leaders need to make sure their communities are aware of the real harm that could be done. Because I know there are a lot of people that see the social media, and you know, right-wing Republicans control most of social media algorithms and the bots, and many of the people that are very active at moving people into very right-wing narratives. So it's up to community leaders to really, I think, stand up and say, this is what's at stake. And I have served all over the world, and I've served all over this country. And those two things, I think, are part of why I fight so hard for the values of this nation, because across the world, I've seen autocratic governments where all of the wealth of the nation is funneled right into their pocketbooks, the leadership, as the rest of the people in the nation suffer. I've seen where to have that control over the economy, the leader shuts down any dissent. People get disappeared in the middle of the night and their families don't know where they are. And I've also seen across this country, in places I've served, what white Christian nationalism looks like. And I often tell people in New Jersey, I don't think you have seen how this operates in some areas of our country. And so I think everyone in a community that is not, you know, white Christian nationalist community well aligned with the Trump family should be very aware of what's happening and why we need to fight to protect the economy and those values. And I swore my first oath to the Constitution when I was 18. And so as we are seeing these attacks on the Constitution from Donald Trump, from the banning basically of the free press at the Pentagon to the censoring of late night TV hosts, and the Trump trying to deploy National Guard onto our streets, on our Democratic towns and cities, to saying that he wants the military to use some of these cities as training grounds, acting as if people are enemies of the state who are U.S. citizens. Right here in New Jersey, Trump is using taxpayer dollars to punish his political opponents by canceling the Gateway Tunnel project. Alina Habba, who is the U.S. attorney illegally sitting in that seat, has threatened to investigate the governor, the Democratic governor, the Democratic attorney general. She's already indicted a Democratic sitting member of Congress and did arrest and tried to prosecute the Democratic mayor of our largest city in New Jersey, until the tapes came out basically showing that this was something that the administration was engineering unfairly. The Republican-controlled Congress and the Supreme Court are okaying Trump's actions at every turn. So this is why I'm running for governor. This is why this race is so important, because it is now left to Democratic governors to protect these constitutional rights. So as governor, I'll take this administration to court to protect free press, due process, our Constitution. And that's why we need to continue to fight, because Jack Ciattarelli, my opponent, has promised to never take the Trump administration to court. He gave Trump an A and said Trump has been right about everything. And so he will actually take our state and just turn it over to Trump, as we've seen so many Republican governors do, whether they're redistricting or turning over voter roll information, which is social security numbers, driver's license info, et cetera, to the administration, which again can really be an attack on the people of this country.
So speaking of attacks, you have been a vocal advocate for reproductive rights and affordable health care as those freedoms face growing threats. As governor, how would you make sure that people of New Jersey continue to lead in terms of reproductive freedom and access to affordable health care?
You know, I was just asked, I was with some pastors in a community, and the pastors are socially conservative, but I think they realize that for so many of the people they serve, the programs that can lift people up are all supported by Democrats and being defunded by Donald Trump. So I was talking to them about what was at risk. And one person did ask me, well, something important is abortion. And do you support that? And, you know, I said yes, obviously. But I also pointed out to the room that what I don't think people necessarily understand is these abortion bans, like the one proposed by my opponent, even though they claim to have exceptions, have the effect of making it very, very dangerous for women across the country. So I pointed out, the story of this woman, Portia in Texas, which has an abortion ban in place, but supposedly it has exceptions for life of the mother, but it never operates that way. What happens is women like Portia go into the emergency room. So she's in the hospital. She's having a miscarriage. She's bleeding profusely. But instead of performing a DNC to save her life, which is an abortion, all of the doctors are afraid to do that because of the laws on the book, even though supposedly they have exceptions in place for life of the mother. That's not how that happened. So instead of giving her the abortion that she needed to live, and she had 2 young kids at home, they gave her blood transfusion after blood transfusion after blood transfusion, and she died on the operating table. So I said, look, these decisions have got to be between a woman and her doctor, and anything but that leads to incredibly harmful results. So that's the advocacy that I have done here. And make no mistake, my opponent does this thing that Republicans are doing now to try to sell the population on their dangerous policies. He claims he's pro-choice, but has an abortion ban proposed and meets with right to life people. So He tells people that he's pro-choice to try to make them think, oh, he's pretty moderate on the issue. He is not. He is proposing the abortion bans that actually are killing women across this country. And that's why I stand against it. He's also voted to defund Planned Parenthood when he was last in office, which led to harmful health outcomes for women across our state. So as governor, I am going to support reproductive freedoms. I'm going to support the idea that all of these decisions are between a woman and her doctor. I'm going to fully fund organizations that give women better access to health care. And I'm going to continue to do things like working to stockpile mifepristone so we can continue to have good healthcare outcomes for women as the federal government and the rest of the country really attacks women's reproductive rights.
Great. I will just note this was the second most important issue for Jewish voters in this last election, and 88% of Jewish voters nationally support abortion being legal in all or some cases. This is an issue that transcends the partisan divide in our community. So as a sitting member of Congress, you're coming to us from New Jersey. This is not just because you're running for governor, but also because the government and the House is shut down. Could you talk to us about this government shutdown and how it relates to the fight for affordable health care? And also, what is the path to reopening the government?
So Donald Trump, again, fully supported by my opponent, Jack, is refusing to extend Affordable Care Act subsidies for families. So this will double the premiums for 450,000 New Jerseyans. This at a time when Trump has already, through the one big beautiful bill, is already cutting healthcare for thousands of New Jerseyans, including 1 in 3 children possibly who receive healthcare through these programs. So now he's further attacking the Affordable Care Act. So he's taking healthcare away from thousands of families, and then for the families who have it, he's doubling their premiums. It's unacceptable. So that's why we're fighting so hard to lower healthcare costs, while again, my opponent supports massively higher prices for families. So I'm hopeful that in this advocacy, we can strongly push back on this, and we can see the president agree to this. And I think there is a pathway for him to realize how much this harms families and to open up the government and protect this healthcare, this line of healthcare. So that's the pathway to getting the government open. I hope we see that sooner rather than later as we continue to fight for families here and across the country.
Great. I know we only have you for a few more minutes. So we have some rapid fire questions for you, some of which are a little lighter. We'd like to know, what is your favorite Jewish food and what is your bagel order?
Oh, okay. This is a great one. So I like corned beef on rye with Russian dressing. But I would do pastrami if it's not too dry. Sometimes I think pastrami is a little dry. I like, if I'm in a Jewish deli, I like a black cherry Dr. Brown's soda, but I am going to tell you, I've not tried it, but I'm definitely one that tries to, and I've been kind of getting mad at myself because I got to try the celery soda. Have not done it yet, but it is on my list.
Celery.
Yeah. The hobbies, right? There's a Jewish deli that we go to.
Dr. Brown's. Yeah.
I have to try the celery. It's on my list. So I'm going to do that. The bagel order, when I am trying to be good, I try to do like a toasted sesame with veggie cream cheese. But when I'm not being so good, I do love like lox and capers and onions, but I eat that and then I can't talk to anyone for hours. So, but
there's
it is
protein in those lox.
Right?
That's a good order. What is something we might not know about your ties to the Jewish community in New Jersey?
So I went to a Jewish preschool. My best friend, Allie Hilken, went there. And I guess that's why I went. I don't really remember why my mom, made that choice, but I was going to the local preschool. So the Jewish community might not realize how good I am at making popsicle stars of David with glitter. I have a real talent for it. And so do my kids, evidently, because they often decorate our Christmas tree because they brought them home over the year from their school as well.
That is a good skill to have. Okay, finally, my last question. You're entering these final 19 days of this campaign, what gives you hope?
Well, obviously here, the release of the hostages has given everyone a lot of hope. That really, I think, changed some of the dynamics of how everyone was feeling about what was possible. So that's been great. I'm inspired every single day by the thousands of New Jerseyans I see as I'm on the campaign trail coming out. Sometimes I think the intent of this administration is to make everything feel hopeless and that we have no opportunity to fight back. But here in New Jersey, I think as more and more people are coming up with a pathway forward, I feel stronger and stronger and more hopeful. And we have the No Kings Day coming up, which I think is going to be massive. So that gives me an incredible amount of hope that we can actually fight for better opportunities for our kids and create better outcomes.
Great. Well, you're giving us hope. We're doing everything we can to make sure that you are the next governor of New Jersey, and we are hopeful that will be the case. And we encourage everyone to join us. We've got 19 days. So thank you so much for your leadership, for sharing our values, and for your fight for our freedoms, for democracy, and for our fundamental rights, including to affordable health care. Really appreciate your leadership. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Halie. Thanks, Izzy. I want to thank everybody at JDCA. You're such an important organization as we really work hard to make change. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm now going to turn things over to our Chief Program Officer, Bobby Saferstein, to wrap up today's event. Bobby.
Thanks, Halie, and thank you, Representative Sherrill, and each of you for joining us today. Never has there been a more important moment to make your voices heard and get involved in the future of our country than now. JDCA is proud to be your home and serve as the political voice of Jewish voters. Here are 4 ways you can take action with us right now. Number 1, please visit jewishdems.org to learn about all of our election-related work in Virginia, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and beyond, and how you can get involved. Number 2, join us in calling for an end to the GOP's government shutdown by protecting the health care of all Americans. Healthcare in America is already too expensive, but if Republicans allow the Affordable Health Care Act tax credits to expire, health costs will rise as much as 75%, and millions of Americans will lose their insurance altogether. To add your name to our petition, please visit the link in the Resources tab. Number 3, mark your calendars for Wednesday, October 29th at 12 p.m. Eastern, and join us for our next public program, Defending Democracy in the Pennsylvania Supreme Court Elections. We'll be joined by all 3 Pennsylvania Supreme Court Democrat justices up for re-election, David Wecht, Kevin Doherty, and Christine Donahue. To sign up for this important conversation before Election Day and to learn just how vital the state Supreme Court race is, please click on the link in the Resources tab. 4, and finally, we hope you'll consider becoming a JDCA member or increasing your membership level and supporting our work. JDCA members have access to exclusive members-only programs with today's leading experts, including one following the election on November 6th with Democratic political strategist Simon Rosenberg, and on December 2nd with New York Times bestselling authors Sarah Hurwitz and David Litt. You don't want to miss these conversations, so please click on the link in the Resources tab to become a JDCA member. This past week has been nothing short of a roller coaster of emotions for Jews around the world. We are relieved and overjoyed at the return of all the living hostages. We're angry and dismayed that the remains of 19 hostages have not yet been returned, and they must be. And we are hopeful that a better future for Israelis, Palestinians, and everyone throughout the region may finally be realized. To the more than 15,000 of you who joined our 17 events these past 2 years following the October 7th massacre, thank you. And to the members and leadership of the Hostages and Missing Families Forum, with whom we have worked closely, your perseverance and fierce determination to ensure that none of the hostages were forgotten gave us strength. So for those who are no longer with us, we say Zichronam Livracha, your memory will always be for a blessing. And for all of us, as we just said during Simchat Torah, Chazak, Chazak, V'nitchazek, may we be strong, and may we be strengthened. Thank you for joining JDC today. We'll see you again soon.